What's up, everyone? Welcome to the NBA Daily Podcast, your home for useless facts about the NBA. My name's Dawson Shine, and I'm your host. So, kicking off today, we got 2 past days of amazing NBA basketball and some bad games. But first, we got to talk about last night's Miami Heat versus Toronto Raptors first game of the second round series. Oh my God, was that incredible. The Miami Heat won in overtime 102-96 to take a 1-0 series lead in Toronto. But it doesn't even tell the whole story. Toronto had to come back in the fourth quarter when they were down 6 with only 19 seconds to go. It was incredible. Now, to figure out how they did it, I'm going to give you the whole story. So, first off, Josh Richardson hit 2 free throws to put the Heat up 89-83 with 19 seconds left. Then, Terrence Ross got subbed into the game, and he hit a 3 with 6 seconds left to put the game to 89-86. Then, Terrence Ross stole the ball from a dang bad pass and then hit a 1 free throw out of 2. That made it 89-87 with only 4 seconds to go in the game. Whiteside got a rebound. They fouled him. He missed one. He made the second free throw, and it was 90-87 with 3 seconds left. Toronto had no timeouts, and it was a baseline from the opposite side of the court that they had to inbound from. And Lowry hit a 39-foot three-pointer. He hit it from beyond half court, and it was incredible. Straight swish. He was 0 for 6 from three-point land in the game, 2 for 11, had only 4 points, and he hit a buzzer-beater half-court shot to tie the game up at 90 to go to overtime. Now, this should really seem to be a huge shift in momentum towards the Toronto Raptors, but unfortunately, their offense still sucks. There's a reason why they were down by 6 with 19 seconds left, and it took a miracle to get a tie game. Their offense in the overtime was completely stagnant. Out of their first 4 possessions, they had 2 DeRozan isolations that ended in a turnover and a missed layup, and then a Lowry missed pull-up 3, which obviously he was 1 for 7 at that point, with the one make being the half-court heave. So he was really cold all game. They didn't score for the first 3 minutes and 46 seconds of overtime. Then DeRozan finally hit a pull-up shot to get the lead to 98-92. Heat still up by 6 with a minute 14 remaining. But the Raptors fought back again, cutting it to 99-96 with 10 seconds remaining when Valanciunas dunked the ball. But again, the Heat messed up the end of the game. Deng had another awful out-of-bounds turnover. He tried to pass it into Wade and just completely missed and threw it out of bounds. And it was obviously Toronto ball down 3 with 10 seconds remaining. So you're thinking, oh, this is going to be great. We might get another tie game, maybe a double overtime. Well, DeRozan got the ball way out by half court, tried to dribble it up. Wade had the clutchest steal of the game, then ran it all the way down the court while being chased, and had a sort of dunk, sort of layup while getting fouled to clinch the game. Made the free throw, and it was over, 102-96. It was a very, very hard-fought game for Toronto, but their offense was stagnant throughout, and Wade is just too clutch. Wade was incredible this game. He had 24 points, but he also had 6 rebounds, 4 assists, 3 steals, and 2 blocks. He is one of the best blocking guards in the NBA history. He has more blocks than Michael Jordan has in the playoffs. That's incredible because he's much smaller. 3 steals and 2 blocks, including the game-winning steal, and a couple of nasty blocks in the fourth quarter to try to preserve their lead, is just incredible effort from him. He also made a 3 in this game, which all of a sudden he's turned into Ray Allen, I guess. And another great player for the Heat that was hot all night, Goran Dragic. Now, you may remember in Game 7 of the Hornets series, Dragic had 25 points to lead the Heat to that victory. Well, in this game, he continued his hot streak and set his career high in the playoffs and tied his career high for the regular season with 26 points and 6 rebounds. Great shooting, 10 for 20, 3 of 4 from 3, and just amazing game. On the other side, the Raptors struggled again, especially their star player, Kyle Lowry. He's an all-star. He was 3 of 13, 23%, 1 of 7 from 3, only 7 points, 6 assists, 3 turnovers. Just an awful game overall. He didn't even get to the free throw line once. And the main issue with that is the fact that he is supposed to be their all-star point guard, yet he cannot buy a bucket in these playoffs. He has not shot above 40% in a single game. Now, DeRozan has had a couple of good games. Lowry has had none, and that's awful. He was there until 1 a.m. last night taking shots after the game, trying to get better, because his home crowd is turning on him. Despite that miracle half-court heave he hit, they're still not happy with his results, because he's not playing well during the game, and he shouldn't need to have to hit a miracle three. But DeMar DeRozan played pretty well. He took 22 shots and had 22 points. Poor shooting, 9 of 22, but it was okay game. He had a couple of great stretches where he helped carry the Raptors offense, but he also continues to stagnate their offense, which is killing momentum. The real worker here was Terrence Ross and Jonas Valanciunas. Terrence Ross had 19 points on 7 of 13 shooting. He had a couple of big threes to get this game close and allow Kyle Lowry to hit that big shot. And also, Jonas Valanciunas had 24 points and 14 rebounds. Huge game by him. But other than those two, they really didn't have an overall great game as an offensive system. And they're going to need to look at that system going forward to see if they can actually fix it and hopefully win the next game in Toronto. Because if they go down 0-2 going back to Miami, it's a hopeless series for them. And another game that had a pretty crazy finish was the Oklahoma City Thunder versus the San Antonio Spurs, Game 2. Now, Game 1 was a massive blowout. The Spurs were up by 43 points at one point. Game 2 was a completely different story. Oklahoma City came out wicked quickly. They were up 18-3 at one point. They ended the first quarter up 29-21, and they were playing really well. Westbrook came out very strong in this game. Then, the Spurs did what Spurs do and fought back. Over the next 2 quarters, they got the game to within 1 point. And then the fourth quarter happened. And I don't know if anyone has seen the videos of the last minute of play, or really the last 15 seconds, but it was a scramble. So, I'm going to just talk about how many missed calls were in the last play. Because what happened was the Thunder had the ball side out of bounds. Dion Waiters was inbounding the ball. What appeared to happen was he elbowed Ginobili from out of bounds to push him away, then threw it in to try and get it to Kevin Durant, who then had the ball stolen by Danny Green, the Spurs defender, who then tried to run a 3-on-1 fast break against Steven Adams, threw it up to Patty Mills. Patty Mills couldn't get the shot up, gave it to Ginobili. Ginobili drove into the paint, Steven Adams cut off the drive, and then passed it up to Patty Mills, who then got closed out by Steven Adams again, and then the clock ran out after Patty Mills airballed the three-pointer, and there was a scramble into the hoop for the ball. Now, that sounds as crazy as it looked, because it was a ridiculous sequence. And what happened during that sequence was a lot of missed calls. So according to the NBA report, there was a total of 5 missed calls in the last 13.5 seconds of the game. First of all, Manu Ginobili stepped over the out-of-bounds line to interrupt Dion Waiters' vision, which is illegal and should have resulted in a technical foul for the Oklahoma City Thunder. Then, Dion Waiters elbowed across the out-of-bounds line, elbowed Ginobili, and passed the ball in, which, first of all, has never been seen in an NBA game. The referees don't even have a rule in their giant rule book to prevent this from happening. They would have had to just call it an offensive foul with no real call for it, no real name. It's pretty crazy that this foul hasn't been seen in almost 80 years of NBA basketball. Then after that, Danny Green fouled Kevin Durant while he was trying to steal the ball. Then Patty Mills fouled Steven Adams while trying to hold him and prevent him from going to get the ball. And then Kawhi Leonard fouled Russell Westbrook, trying to prevent him from getting the inbounds pass. It was an absolute mad dash for the ball. Also, a fan actually held Steven Adams' arm as he tried to get back in the play at the end of the game. Even the fans were fouling. It was an absolutely crazy finish that led to the Oklahoma City Thunder winning 98-97, 1-point victory in San Antonio. An absolutely incredible game, and the finish was really fun to watch. Although it was crazy and there's a lot of missed calls, if the refs had called any of those fouls at any point, it would have just seemed like a cop-out or weak or unfair, anything like that, because if they called Ginobili stepping over the line, people would have said it was unfair. You know, that's such a stupid rule to call. The NBA is getting weak. If they called Dion Waiters pushing him with his elbow, then everyone would have pointed out that Manu Ginobili stepped over the line. If they called Danny Green fouling Kevin Durant or Kawhi Leonard fouling Russell Westbrook, people would have talked about Dion Waiters elbowing Manu Ginobili. And so you can see that there was just no way the referees were going to win this. And so at least we got to see an entertaining scramble for the finish. Plus, even if they did call the foul on Dion Waiters, the Spurs still would have had the ball with 13.5 seconds left, which they ended up having. They had a 3-on-1 fast break, but Steven Adams brilliantly shut it down. He saved the game for the Thunder by preventing a layup, then preventing the other layup from Ginobili, then preventing a three-point shot from Patty Mills. Just great 3-on-1 defense, and then closing out, all of it was great fundamental defense by Steven Adams. So, the Thunder survive, and they get to go back to Oklahoma City, stealing home court from the San Antonio Spurs. But this game was also more entertaining than just the last 13 seconds, because there was some absolutely incredible nights statistically. First, Russell Westbrook had 29 points, 10 assists, and 7 rebounds. Steven Adams had a great defensive game with 12 points and 17 rebounds, and Durant finally broke out of his shooting slump, sort of, with 28 points on only 19 shots. Just great. But on the other side of the ball, LaMarcus Aldridge carried the Spurs, and he feasted on every single player they stuck on him for the Oklahoma City Thunder, especially Serge Ibaka, who just could not keep up with him. LaMarcus Aldridge put up 41 points on 15 of 21 shooting. He has an 80% true shooting percentage in the series, which is absurd. And man, was it incredible. He hit the big three off of a pass from Tony Parker to actually get the game within 2 points right at the end of it to allow for the Spurs to almost come back. He was unstoppable, and he has been unstoppable this series so far. 38 points in the first game, 41 in the second game. It reminds me a lot of when he was on the Portland Trailblazers and had his 2 massive first games of 45 and 46 points against the Houston Rockets back in 2014. Just incredible. His fadeaway is money from the mid-range, and he is just dominating Ibaka, who just can't keep up with him. He can't even get close to blocking the shot. Kawhi Leonard, unfortunately, did not have as good of a game. He was huge in Game 1, very efficient, but last night he was 7 of 18 for less than 40% shooting, only 14 points, and overall not a great game. He played well on defense. However, Andre Roberson and Dion Waiters, who not many people realize is a pretty good defender, shut him down pretty much. They played very good defense on him, forced him to play a lot more minutes than he's used to, and prevented him from scoring his usual. So, great defense and great credit to them. And the big three, the old big three for the San Antonio Spurs, looked old. Duncan was 1 for 8 from the field. He only had 2 points. Tony Parker was 3 for 9. He had 9 points, 6 assists, but was awful on the defensive end. And Ginobili had a good game, 11 points, but his defense is subpar at best. So it's really looking like they're starting to hit that wall, especially Duncan, who seemed like he was going to be the most consistent of them all. But since he's hit 40 a couple months ago, he started to really fall off a cliff. 1 for 8 from the field in a playoff game is very unlike him, especially in 28 minutes of play. He only scored 2 points. That's very, very unlike him. So we're going to have to see if he's going to continue to be this bad in the coming games. But if LaMarcus Aldridge continues to average almost 40 points a game, I guess it doesn't really matter. But at least this series is starting to look like what we predicted earlier, which was a very close, hard-fought series between 2 of the best teams in the NBA. Another series between 2 great teams is the Atlanta Hawks versus the Cleveland Cavaliers, which had Game 1 2 nights ago. The Cleveland Cavaliers won this game 104-93, and they were up by 18 at one point, but the Hawks came all the way back in this game to retake the lead. They had the lead in the fourth quarter at one point until the Cleveland Cavaliers shut them down for the rest of the game, including a great finish by Kyrie Irving and LeBron James. LeBron had 11 of 21 shooting for 25 points, 9 assists, 7 rebounds, very close to a LeBron, and 5 steals. Incredible. Also, Kyrie Irving had a great game in the playoffs again, 21 points and 8 assists. He's really showing the ability to pass, which he really didn't do too much of in the regular season. That's great to watch. Tristan Thompson feasted, 7 offensive rebounds, 14 boards overall. But the one person who struggled last night was Kevin Love. 4 for 17 from the field. He had 17 points because of free throws and some threes, but overall not great shooting. He also looked like he may have injured himself in the fourth quarter. He tried to pump fake on a 3-point shot, ended up having a guy land right on his shoulder, the one that wasn't injured during the regular season, but he seemed pretty shaken up from it later on. And also later in the game, he went down after hurting his ankle. So it's going to be something to watch moving forward to see if he can stay healthy. and he definitely needs to be more careful. On the other side of the ball, the reason why the Hawks were even in this game, Dennis Schroeder. 10 for 20 from the field, 5 for 10 from 3 for someone who was an awful three-point shooter for their career. 27.6 assists. Best game of his career, easily. It was an incredible effort from him because everyone else on the roster was awful last night. Jeff Teague, 2 for 9. Just poor shooting overall, 8 points. Paul Millsap, 6 for 19, 17 points, 13 rebounds. Those sound like good numbers until you look at the shooting numbers. Al Horford, 4 for 13, 10 points. Kent Bazemore was 6 for 14. He had an okay game with 16 points but 12 rebounds. The real tell, 0 for 1 for Kyle Korver. He took one shot. And you want to know why he only took one shot? He was getting absolutely smothered up by JR, by Kyrie, by anyone they stuck on him. They were draped over him, and he could not get open at all. Didn't matter what screens you set. It was what the Celtics should have been doing, but didn't do against him. Every time he came off of a screen, he would think he'd be open, and someone was right on his back trying to get onto him. And he just couldn't get a shot off. Never mind missed shots. He couldn't get one off. Great defensive effort from them. And so the Cleveland Cavaliers took a 1-0 series lead, and the game 2 will be played in Cleveland. So we're going to see if the Hawks can bounce back and try and steal one in Cleveland. Now the next game I'm going to talk about is another game 2, where a team looked to steal home court advantage. That's the Portland Trailblazers versus the Golden State Warriors. Unfortunately, the Trailblazers lost 110-99 because the Golden State Warriors came back from down 11 going into the fourth quarter to win by 11. They outscored the Trailblazers 34-12 in the final period, including clutch plays from Sean Livingston and Draymond Green, including a monster dunk from the baseline. Unfortunately, the Trailblazers played as well as they possibly could. They even had the refs calling illegal screens on the Golden State Warriors, which never happens. And yet, they still lost. Damian Lillard went off for a stretch. He was 6 of 11 from 3. He had 25 points and 6 assists. Their team played relatively well overall. CJ McCollum had 22 points, and the Warriors were still missing Stephen Curry. And yet, they came back, and they still won this game. They're just so good. Draymond Green had a poor shooting night, 7 for 20, but he had 17 points, 14 rebounds, 7 assists. Almost another triple-double. Klay Thompson had 27 points, poor shooting, but great scoring overall. Sean Livingston was the real key in the fourth quarter. 14 points and 4 assists, but Damian Lillard just can't guard him. As I talked about before, he's too tall. He's just too tall for Damian Lillard. And he would post him up, and you could hear the crowd saying, "Finish him." Because he would just post him up, fade away. He only has 2 go-to moves, a fadeaway and a counter. And he did them both. And he kept doing them, and especially the fadeaway. Damian Lillard couldn't even close out on the shot to try and stop him. There's nothing you can do when that happens. I don't know what the Trailblazers are going to do to try and steal Game 3, but they're going to need to try and set up some sort of double team if Sean Livingston continues to get the ball in the post against Damian Lillard, because he doesn't stand a chance trying to guard him one-on-one. Also, Mason Plumlee will need to play much better because he was getting swallowed up the entire night from Bogut and Draymond Green, and you just can't allow that. I mean, 4 blocks for Green, 2 for Bogut. 4 of those 6 blocks were on Mason Plumlee himself. That's ridiculous. Stuffed plums was dinner last night. Crazy game. And they still won it, so the Golden State Warriors have a 2-0 lead going back to Portland. And we're going to see if Portland can actually take a Game 3 where Steph Curry might be playing. So that's all we're going to talk about today, folks. Thanks for listening. If you did enjoy, leave a like, subscribe, leave a comment giving feedback on the show. Thank you very much, and have a great day.